President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to deliver the keynote address at the 20th African Growth and Opportunities Act Forum, which is AGOA, currently underway at Nasrec.
It provides countries on the continent duty-free access into U.S. markets, while it also exports to Africa's 1.4 billion people. Our team on the ground tracking various angles on the story. Let's take you live to Nasrec this morning, where we find the AM Report's business anchor, Tumisang Ndlovu, and our Newzroom Afrika reporter, Ziyanda, Ngcobo, who is tracking different legs of the story. Ziyanda, let's kick off the conversation with you this morning. It's the first time Labour and civil society have been included in this forum.
That's right, Michelle. And yesterday there were several discussions taking place during the private sessions, including one with civil society and Labour yesterday. Let's bring in COSATU's President Ngcobo to talk about this, because it's the first time in the many years of AGOA being held that you are being included. How significant is that, and is there anything to be said about why then business has seemingly not been interested in listening to you?
Thank you very much, and indeed it has been a very significant moment in us hosting AGOA in South Africa, but also importantly having the Labour and civil society being part of the discussions. I think for us it's very, very, very important, because you can't talk about investments, you can't talk about economic growth, and you minus the people that are the drivers of the economy, the workers themselves. And what we also appreciate in the discussions that we've been having, and also listening to Ambassador Catherine Tai of the US, was also the importance of ensuring that part of the discussions in the trade agreements must always be embedded on the decent work. And for us, it shows the importance of government realizing the importance of workers, but not just workers. The change in the way that we run the economy, the way we see workers not just as commodities, but as part of the critical element when we want to grow our economies, that workers are not just commodities, but they are indeed important aspect of the economic growth, and therefore the element of ensuring that you pay them a living wage, and also the conditions that they are working under are of a decent environment, for us becomes more and more critical.
And let's talk then about the politics that have surrounded AGOA and the risk at some stage that was posed. And we can argue about the geopoliticization of trade instruments such as AGOA, but there was a real risk at some point, you could argue, that this agreement would not be renewed. What's to be said about the way in which our government has handled the international relations side of things, to the extent that it affects now agreements such as this?
Look, I have been part of the trips to Washington in ensuring that we move beyond the Lady R and the geopolitics. We discuss trade issues, and I can tell you those were very difficult engagements. But at the end of it all, I think the position of our government of not choosing sides but choosing peace and stability in the world has also earned us the right of holding this AGOA. At first, there were threats that it may move to Nigeria, it may move to other countries in Africa, but I think also the appreciation of the African continent in terms of the heads of state and ambassadors, that South Africa's position is not a position that seeks to alienate one, but is a position that seeks to unite the African continent, but beyond to make peace with the worlds that are at odds with each other, has earned us, I think, the credentials of being able to be given us to host AGOA. When we were listening to Ambassador Catherine Tai and also our Labour constituency friends in the US, giving us a surety that they will ensure and push very hard that AGOA is renewed, not just for 5 years, but for the next 10 years, and hopefully before the new administration comes into place in the US, as we know that they are going for their elections next year.
All right, and indeed we saw from U.S. President Joe Biden in a statement yesterday that he strongly supports the reauthorization of AGOA in a timely fashion, to quote him verbatim, Michelle. So certainly, as you can hear now, we are standing by for the arrival of the president.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Ziyanda and Ngcobo. Let's take you to another vantage point. Tumisang, Ndlovu, if you can hear Ziyanda's sound coming through, it does appear that the president is now arriving to give that keynote address. There'll be a lot of ears listening to what he has to say.
Absolutely, Michelle. As you can hear, it is a wave of activity with the president's arrival. He gets here at the exhibition center at Nasrec to do a walkabout of the showcase that has been displayed here, and much of that walkabout is going to include explanations around the several types of businesses on the local landscape as well as across the African continent. President Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, being accompanied by the Economic Development Minister, that is they're walking in behind me here, Ibrahim Patel, with the delegation of South African leaders, business leaders as well as labor leaders. Much of this part of day 2 of the session is about showing the president which businesses are being highlighted, how they can feed into the AGOA agenda, especially after the talk was set yesterday by Minister Patel of an industrialization focus and expanding on the benefits of AGOA, how they can be more inclusion of not only businesses on the South African soil but across the African continent, Michelle.
All right, President Cyril Ramaphosa being welcomed there at the Nasrec Center as he prepares to give his keynote address. Control, are we going back to Ziyanda? Ziyanda, from your vantage point, quite a welcome there for President Cyril Ramaphosa, flanked by Ibrahim Patel, who's also a key player in discussions and announcements, hopefully, to be made there over the next 3 days, or at least the remaining 2 days of that forum.
That's right, Michelle. And as I speak, the president is here. He is now getting that walkabout underway. It's the Made in Africa exhibition, Michelle, that was officially opened yesterday by the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, alongside an ambassador from the AU. And he was talking about how the African Union has taken a particular stance when it comes to Made in Africa products. And so why this is important is because this exhibition is here to showcase Africa's wealth and Africa's opportunities, and that's the point of this, right? Because this is a summit that's to discuss the opportunities that are available to export products from this continent into U.S. markets duty-free, might I add. And of course, speaking about how there is a push now, especially as a part of the African Continental Free Trade Area, to have products manufactured from Africa have that label that says Made in Africa. And so this summit is also important to bolstering the efforts of that African Continental Free Trade Area, because it's about access to each other's markets. 1.4 billion people in Africa who would be able to also access U.S. products. So let me leave it there for now, because the program is now officially underway.